Hey guys, Andy here with VSiN, getting you set for Wednesday's NHL action. But first, let's talk a little bit about the first 4 days of this tournament. We really can't put a whole lot of stock into what we've seen because hockey is a sport that's heavily influenced by luck. In fact, research suggests that almost half of what happens in hockey can be attributed to luck. Compare that to the NBA, where only about 15% of what happens is due to luck. So while it might be really tempting to make adjustments after a few games, you might just want to wait a little bit longer because typically we'd roll into the playoffs after a regular season and we would have a lot of recent performances and a bunch of not so recent performances to go off of. But not this year. These guys have had 5 months off, which is more than double what they would have had off in a normal off season. So we should treat it like a regular season, right? Well, that's tough too because typically we would want about 20 games before we really start buying what any of these teams are selling. That would put us at about the 6 week mark, which, by the 6 week of this tournament, half the teams will have already been eliminated. So we won't really know if we were right or wrong. Let's get into the first matchup, the New York Islanders at Florida Panthers. The Panthers have last change in this game. They're losing the series 2-0, and the Islanders should win this thing about 89% of the time. That's a fair series price of about minus 800. But don't discount the importance of last change here. Having Alexander Barkov and co. matched up against the Islanders' weaker players should help the Panthers establish themselves as the offensive threat that they are, something we haven't seen yet in this series. So the Panthers are going to have a little bit of an edge, but some of that will be taken away by the fact that the Islanders are going to be able to turn to another solid goaltender outside of the one that played yesterday, Semyon Varlamov. They get to go to Thomas Greiss, I'm assuming, and that helps them weather this kind of back-to-back storm that each team is facing. The Panthers, they're likely going to be forced to turn to Bobrovsky because this is an elimination game. They don't have any other choice, so that definitely hurts them a little bit. However, I still like the Panthers. I'd bet them at plus 100 under normal circumstances in a home game against the Isles. However, with this back-to-back situation and the fact that the Islanders do have a better goaltending tandem, I'm going to bet the Panthers at plus 105 or better. Let's hope we get another chance to see this team after this one. Moving on, the Nashville Predators and the Arizona Coyotes. Arizona has last change in this one, and they'll be able to get Taylor Hall's line away from Roman Josi and Ryan Ellis. The Coyotes at plus 116 or better would be a solid play on a team that should be better equipped to handle this back-to-back situation because they have the better goaltending tandem of the two teams. However, goaltender Andy MacNeil tweaked something in warm-ups on Tuesday, and it remains to be seen if he will start or not. His availability and whether or not the price is still around when that is known will dictate whether or not I play the Coyotes. Pittsburgh and Montreal, I have the Penguins winning this thing about 63% of the time. That's a fair line of minus 170. So if you do want to get into the series price there's a bit of value. I mean, their odds come down because it's now a best 2 out of 3, and there's a lot more room for variance to get in the way of Pittsburgh winning here now that there are less games to be played. Carey Price proved me wrong on Monday, churning out a great performance, albeit in a loss. He's been great. His team, however, has been really bad. A lot of their wounds have been self-inflicted by doing things like taking too many penalties. For example, in the first period on Monday, the Canadiens were called for having too many men on the ice on 2 separate occasions in the span of about 8 minutes. These are simple things that their coaching staff must clean up, and they likely have addressed it already. Montreal is designated the home team, as this is Game 3, and therefore they will have last change, which should help them in their effort to slow down the Pens' top scorers. Personally, I ended up backing the Canadiens at an average price of plus 157 in Game 2, and although I lost, I would take the dog here on Wednesday at plus 150 or better, but I definitely wouldn't compromise on the price. Next up, we've got Edmonton and Chicago. Now, Chicago is designated the home team in this one. They served the Edmonton Oilers a wake-up call on opening night. They chased goaltender Mike Smith, and they trounced the Oilers in the process. Connor McDavid, however, kicked his play into high gear on Monday, scoring a hat trick and leading the Oilers to a series-tying victory. In other words, the Hawks have had their wake-up call now as well. I expect a much tighter matchup in Game 3, and if you're like me and you like the Blackhawks heading into the qualifying round, I think you really have to like them here at plus 120. A couple of round-robin matchups. First up, Tampa Bay and Boston. The two top teams in the league, they're battling for seeding. Steven Stamkos is out for the Lightning. That's a big loss. Tuukka Rask was sidelined with a cough, but is expected to play. The Bruins are the number one team by my estimation, followed by the Lightning, but the injury to Stamkos and the fact that they are designated the home team means that the Bruins offer value at minus 110 or better. Colorado at Dallas is our second round-robin matchup, and on neutral ice, I'd make the Avalanche a minus 133 favorite. However, Dallas has the last change in this game, which brings that line down slightly. And frankly, I have enough action today as it is. It's going to be a really busy Wednesday in the NHL. We'll be back Thursday to break all of the games down and see how we did. Hopefully, we got some of the prices that we were looking for. Hopefully, we got the goaltenders that we were looking for. And hopefully, everybody has fun and enjoys this and gambles responsibly. Make sure you subscribe to the VSiN newsletter and tune in to all the great programming that VSiN is offering each and every day on the VSiN app.